We are talking about the pentagram rituals that are particularly of interest to Thelemic magicians, or magicians that embrace the formula of the New Age. Now, if I don't have to remind you this, I'm going to remind you right now. In order to be a Thelemite, or to consider yourself a Thelemic magician, you don't have to belong to any organization. Okay. Personally, I think for me it has been immeasurably helpful to belong to a couple formal magical societies, the Ordo Templi Orientis being foremost among my influences, and I've been a proud and active participant in that organization for many years, since 1975, actually. But you don't have to be an OTO member. You don't have to be an AA aspirant. You don't have to belong to any club or no. Thelema is bigger, okay, than that. And believe it or not, Thelema is even bigger than the person of Aleister Crowley. I mean, he may have been the prophet and one of the most prolific contributors to the literature and the techniques of modern magic. But Thelema is bigger than all of that, and you don't need to belong to any organization to call yourself a Thelemite. So that being said, a great deal of the best work that's going on and the best published material, many of it, or much of it, is done by people who are either affiliated with those groups or those who aren't. The material is still, it's got to stand on its own, and the magician's got to stand on their own. And just because they're assholes in any organization, that doesn't mean that just being an asshole qualifies you to call yourself a Thelemite. That being said, I'm working off of this book yesterday, today, and tomorrow, about the Thelemic pentagram rituals. This is The Magic of Aleister Crowley, Handbook of the Rituals of Thelema. It's published way back in 1993 as The Magic of Thelema, Handbook of the Rituals of Aleister Crowley. Well, the name has changed, and in subsequent editions, additions have been made to it. And if you don't have the current edition of this, of course, I would encourage you to get it. We're talking about the pentagram rituals, and 3 days ago, this whole thing started off with me talking about the greater ritual of the pentagram, and the discussion more or less began. Well, why do I need to learn the greater ritual of the pentagram when Crowley's got these beautiful rituals, the Star Sapphire and Liber 5 Vel Reguli? They're Thelemic and I'm a Thelemite, so I'm going to learn to do those rituals instead. And I pointed out that, that's true up to a point, but unless you've mastered the pentagram, as outlined especially in the Greater Ritual of the Pentagram, you don't know what Crowley has done to improve that. And one thing I've going to point out, or review for us anyway, is part of the Greater Ritual of the Pentagram is the use of two pentagrams in each quarter. Now, just prior to opening up, say, the invoking pentagram of each of the four elements, fire, water, air, and earth, the Greater Ritual of the Pentagram requires us to draw two pentagrams. You draw a spirit pentagram in the quarter before you draw the elemental pentagram in the quarter. And the spirit, there are two kinds of spirit pentagram: an active spirit pentagram and a passive spirit pentagram. Active, passive. Spirit active, there's invoking. Notice how the arrows are drawn from the lower leg, and they're required to pass through literally the crotch area, of the pentagram, okay, which has a subtle but profound connection to spirit itself. See, there's the pointy spiritness and I guess you would say, the averse spiritness, the crotch and the head, the Muladhara chakra and the Anja, or even maybe higher chakra, like that. Okay, so there's two types of spirit, active and passive, and you draw your active pentagram in the active quarters of your circle, the fire quarter and the air quarter, and then you go ahead and draw your specific elemental pentagram. And in the passive quarters, you draw the passive spirit pentagram, complete with its divine name and sign and stuff like that. Okay. So the greater pentagram ritual requires you literally to flash your badge of spiritual authority, to open up that elemental sphere, and then after you flash your sheriff's badge of spirit, then you draw your invoking pentagram, or banishing, depending on the ceremony, of the specific element. Okay. Why am I reviewing that and confusing you again? Because we're going to talk about the star ruby. Star ruby's very, very short. It's a short little ritual. It's only going to take a second to read through it. I posted an excellent demonstration of it just now on Facebook, and if you haven't reviewed that, I want you to watch that right after our little talk here this morning. And our dear sister Sandra Scott demonstrated it at, I believe, the Golden Lotus Lodge OTO in the background there. And it's an excellent, excellent version of it. Now, the star ruby will not oblige you to be drawing any pentagram. It's a pentagram ritual, yeah. But the star ruby assumes that you are the master of the pentagram, that you are a well-educated, graduated, postgraduate pentagram master after mastering the ins and outs of the greater ritual of the pentagram. It's assuming that's the kind of magician you are when you're starting to perform, celebrate, practice, meditate upon, utilize, execute the star ruby. And the star ruby then obliges you to take your mastered pentagram, the pentagram, and burn it alight in your forehead, assuming that you know what is an invoking pentagram or a banishing pentagram of earth, fire, water, air, and which of those is ruled by either an active or a passive spirit pentagram. And you've got that so burned into your psyche that you could do it in your sleep, that you could do it in a dream, that you could do it in a vision, so that when you visualize a pentagram alight in your forehead in front of, metaphorically speaking, a spiritual entity, when you burn that image into your forehead, it means something. You are indeed the master of the elements. Don't need to draw it anymore. I've burned it in me. I can draw it anytime I want, but now I'm going to just throw it at you, making the sign of the enter, and just there it is. You fling it from your forehead. Now there's active and passive quarters of the star ruby, but instead of using the classic Kabbalistic divine names, there's Thelemic divine names. Okay. And in the section of the book, chapter 5, where we talk about the Thelemic pentagram rituals, I have a brief review of these divine names. We've got Nuit, Hadit. We've got Babylon Therian. We've got, Rahu Kuwait and Therian Babylon, Iwas Pan. Okay, all of these we'll get into in the Liber 5. But for the star ruby, the active and passive god names are Nuit for one of the passive quarters, and Babylon for the other passive quarter, and Hadit for one of the positive or the active quarters, and Therian for the other active quarter. Now, do I have to? Okay, Nuit, first deity of the Thelemic Trinity, traditionally the Egyptian goddess of the night sky, star goddess. Okay, and Hadit, second deity of the Thelemic Trinity. Okay, lover of Nuit. Now this is going to kind of make more sense when we read the ritual. And Therian and Babylon. Now, all of these, for the Kabbalists in the group that don't care about Thelemic cosmology, Nuit is comparable to Bina, number 3 on the Tree of Life. And Hadit is equivalent to number 2 on the tree of life, or Chokmah. They're like Shakti and Shiva, for those who don't even care about the Kabbalah. But there's another aspect of each of those. Babylon is also an aspect of Binah, number 3 on the tree of life. And Therion is also an aspect of Chokmah on the tree of life. Babylon, Nuit, Shakti. Therion, Hadit, Shiva. Okay, that being said, here is, and please boot up or replay the demonstration of Sister Scott's beautiful rendition of it. Facing the east, in the center, draw deep, 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 deep thy breath, closing thy mouth with thy right forefinger pressed against thy lower lip. Then dash down the hand with a great sweep back and out, expelling forcibly thy breath, and cry, Apopantos kakodaimenos. Please forgive my Greek pronunciation. I do it only as taught, and I'm not a Greek scholar. Apopantos kakodaimenos. With the same finger touch thy forehead and say, Soy. Touch thy member and say, Hophale. Touch thy right shoulder and say, Iskoros. Touch thy left shoulder and say, Eucharistos. Then clasp thine hands, locking the fingers, and cry, Iao. That's the Kabbalistic cross of the star ruby. Advance to the east. Imagine strongly a pentagram, a right, okay, with the point up, in thy forehead. Drawing the hands to thine eyes, fling it forth, making the sign of Horus. Okay, that's that sign of the inner. I don't want to lose my place here, but it's that one. Advance to the east, imagine strongly in thy pentagram right in thy forehead, drawing thy hands to the eyes, fling it forth, making the sign of Horus, and roar. Therion. Okay, east is an active quarter. Therion, you roar it like a lion. Retire thine hand in the sign of Hur-Parkrat. Go round to the north, so we're moving counterclockwise here, which is a banishing direction, by the way. Go round to the north and repeat. In other words, fling your hands forward, but say, Nuit. You roar Therion, but you say, in the north, you say, Nuit. You just say it. It doesn't say here, but usually you do just what you did in the east and retire your hand to your lips like that, because you've done the sign of the inter. Those two signs traditionally go together. Go round to the west and repeat. So, but you whisper, Babylon. Go round to the south. Repeat. But bellow, Hadit. You roar Therian, you bellow Hadit. You say Nuit, and you whisper Babylon. Completing the circle widdershins, or counterclockwise, retire to the center and raise thy voice in the paean, or the chorus poem, with these words, Io pan. Then you extend your arms in the form of a cross, and say low but clear, Promoiungus, opisicomo teletarche, epidexia sinokis, iparistara diamonos, flegegar perimu hoastaton pente, cayente stele hoastaton essestice, promuiungus opicomu teletarca, epidexia sinocus, iparistara daimonos, flegegar paramu hoastaton pente, cayente stele hoastaton essestice. Repeat the Kabbalistic cross as above, and end as thou didst begin. Now, as you can tell by the video that I posted this morning, the whole thing takes like 3 minutes. Okay. Here's my author's notes on the star ruby. Libra 25, the star ruby. 25 is the square of 5, the pentagram, or the 5th Sephirah, Geburah, whose color is red, star ruby. You say, Apopantos kako daimonos, away from me, evil spirit. Okay? Well, I'm going to read it here, and then I'll... Facing east, draw deep, 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 deep thy breath, closing thy mouth with thy right forefinger, press low against thy lower lip, then dash the hand down with a great sweep and say, Apopantos kako daimonos. Away from me, every evil spirit. Soy unto you, Hophale, phallus. Iskaros, strong, strength. Iskaros. Well, Iskaros is strong or strength. Eucharistos. Okay, Eucharist is a feast, a mystic feast of Thanksgiving. It's also would be the equivalent of Iskaros would be the equivalent of power on the tree of life, and Iskaros would be the equivalent of mercy. Okay, it's the two poles on the tree of life. Soy hophale iskaros eucharistos iao. Iao is the triune God of the Gnostics. Okay, Therian. Okay, we talked about Therian. Nuit, Hadit, Nuit, Babylon, Hadit. Those are the quarters. Okay, you start off with a active quarter in the east, Therian, or you roar it, and the passive quarter in the north. Earth is north and passive. Nuit. And then in the west, which is water, which is passive, Babylon. And in the south, which is active, Hadit. Okay. Io Pan is an invocation of the great All. The Knight of Pan, contrasted with LVX, light in extension. NOX could be characterized as light withdrawn. Okay. Then you make the signs of NOX, which are Puella, Puer, Vir, and Mulier. Puella, the girl standing with feet together, head bowed, left hand shielding the Muladhara chakra, the right hand shielding the breast, the attitude of like Venus on the half shell. Puer, meaning boy, stand with the feet together, head erect, let the right hand, thumb between the index and medius be raised, the forearm vertical with the right hand with the upper arm, like that. Horizontally extended to the line of the shoulders. Let the left hand, thumb extended forward, the fingers clenched, rest at the junction of the thighs in the attitude of the gods Mentu and Kem. Well, that'd be like you've got, just imagine any one of a million god statues at the British Museum. You got Horus standing there with it, okay, and then at the junction of the thigh, you got this hand sticking out. It's almost like you're trying to make sort of silly, obscene gestures on the silhouetting on the wall of the pyramid there. At least that's how I see it. Okay. Now, in Liber, the Book of Lies, Crowley had other names here for the before me, behind me, on my right hand, and all of that. They were Greek, and I'll look it up here in just a second. But here's the star ruby that he settled on. Okay. Promuiungus. Before me, the Iungus. Okay, now, do I have the Iungus here anywhere? Yes, I believe I do. Anywhere. In Greek magic, before you did anything, just like in the technique or the formula of the sacred magic of Abramelin the Mage, you don't do anything. You don't blow your nose magically without first invoking and making direct contact with your holy guardian angel. If you haven't done that, you're just firing in the dark. It's flip a coin whether this is going to blow up in your face. Okay, it might work, but unless you have invoked what the Greeks call the agathodaimon, the holy guardian angel, unless you've made that connection, you're not plugged in, and you're going to soon run out of ammunition. Okay. So the Iungus, the Teletarche, and the Sinukes are aspects. They're almost like archangelic aspects of the agathodaimon. So Crowley wanted to keep this Greek, so he said, before me, the Iungus, Promuiungus. Behind me, the Teletarche. Teletarche, the word took on almost a hierophantic quality, like the chief adepts of the rites of Eleusis or something, were Teletarchi-esque individuals. Epidexia Sinukes, on my right hand, the Sinukes, which is another aspect. I confess I'm not a big expert. Iparistara Diamonos, on my left, the diamonds, or the spirits. Now, I've got back here someplace, according to the Chaldean oracles of Zoroaster, each individual, prior to any theurgic ritual, must gain consciousness of the agathodaimon, a personal spirit, guardian spirit or angel whose function as the mediator between the aspirant and the gods. These guides are called Iungus or ferrymen, literally Rheinex, traditional birds of the abyss. Iungus, Sinukes, and Teletarche comprise the three celestial intelligences or archangels of Chaldean cosmology. Okay. Flegigar parimu hoastaton pente, for about me flames the star of five. Cayenthe stele, and in the column, hoastraton esestike, stands the six, or the star of six. And then you repeat the Kabbalistic cross. Soy, hofale, iskarosi eucharistos iao. There is your scattered explanation or comment on the star ruby. Please avail yourself of the more step-by-step and seemingly logical outline of how to do it in The Magic of Aleister Crowley. Tomorrow, if I make it through today, tomorrow we'll do Liber 5, Vel Reguli. And it's the one that uses the dreaded averse pentagrams. Are you macho enough to draw an averse pentagram and be proud of it? Well, we'll see tomorrow. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other, and July 11th is my birthday.